There's pollution all in the earth. Biden's camp says they'll help reverse, and we'll see if he'll actually help pay our rent. But at least that orange a-hole is no longer president. You are now going off with RC and views.
It took a second, but I got there. We are recording this on the day of the inauguration, by the way, and we're not going to get super political. You boys have made a unspoken vow to not really go down that road too much anymore, but I gotta tell you, man, I was on my lunch break and I went home, I put on the inauguration, I fucking got to see my girl, got to see fucking Lady Gaga perform.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking J-Lo was there.
Hey, yo, man, there's a spring in my step and a glide in my stride this afternoon, my friend. I just feel a little lighter knowing that, you know.
We've got 2 requests this week, and I'll be damned if I can even, with 100% certainty, say which one we should go with first. But you know what? I got to, for personal reasons, I think we should probably lead with MCR.
You think so?
See, this is the thing, right?
I'm trying to say, like, we might have more to talk about but you know what? Let's leave it MCR. Yeah, you know what? MCR.
Okay.
Let's do it.
MCR Black Parade requested by your boy, Ryan Halter. Thank you so much, Ryan. And if there is an album you would like to hear us talk about on Going Off, it is a one-time $60 pledge to Ko-fi, that is ko-fi.com/goinoff, GOINOFF. Man, this one, I've been waiting for this one.
Man. Yo, the person who requested it, you a fool for this one.
Fucking, man, spoiler alert, alright? So, this is the second show of 2021, right? And it's gonna be my first 5 of 2021. And unfortunately, we're going all the way back to 2006. So does it even count? Oh no, what's the track record for 2021? When are we ever gonna actually do a new release? Who knows? We've got fucking requests stacked up to the ceiling.
But I gotta say, just to spoil it as well, yeah, I got to give it to 502, my brother.
I had to toss it over to you because I was not sure how much MCR you've even listened to. Like, was this your first time listening through this album?
I had not listened to that much MCR at all. In fact, it's one of those bands where it's just like, oh, there's My Bloody Valentine, and there's My Chemical Romance, and there's the Fallout Boy, and they all make music, but it's not like really hard, but you know, it's still very emotional. They want to tell you about the life.
It's got the pop punk biz,
you know what I'm saying? But it's a little bit more complex than the pop punk of you would say, you know, the Good Charlottes and the Blink 182s, right? Like, they've got a little bit more artistic credibility. So that's what I kind of understood. Is like, okay, you know, it's the emo stuff, but like, it just didn't happen to come across my radio, so I just didn't hear it as much. But you always hear the big hits, right? And I had heard that Black Parade joint, and I remember it being one of those songs where I was just like, oh yeah, it's a good ass song. I like how, you know, it's got a lot going on in it, you know what I'm saying? And then one day having that moment of just like listening to it and being like, oh my god, this is like a really deep song about, like, you know, your father telling you to, you know, fight against the evil and, you know, corruption in the world, and, you know, let me lead you to the good that we all need to be going towards. It's like, oh my god, this shit got at my heart. Like, it's one of those things where, you know, it gets in your emotions from how positive it makes you feel, you know? It's just like, oh, there are good people in this world who want to do good things. Oh my god, like, it's that Mr. Rogers moment, you know?
We've brought up MCR a couple times. I've quoted them in intros of episodes in the past. I remember in our review of Vessel by 21 Pilots, MCR was brought up alongside 21 Pilots as your Hot Topic bands, you know? And I remember you asked me about the songwriting compared to MCR, and I remember just being like, Oh god, MCR songs are way better. Like, not even fucking close.
You ain't never lied about that.
It's honestly, besides the fact that you might see the shirts side by side on a Hot Topic wall, there really is no comparing these two.
Look,
bands.
21 Pilots. They're little emotional boys who want to rap their feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, you let them have their day, but. And again, this isn't even to compare because I don't feel like they're doing the same like aesthetic thing when you break it down because they're doing more of a direct Red Hot Chili Peppers incorporating rap into it and pumping it up in that way. And yeah, My Chemical Romance is way more just like straight operatic rock type of shit going on here.
This album stands alone in the fact that it's kind of it's a bit divisive because the first two albums are very emo pop punk. This album is a departure from the style you would hear on the first two albums, so it's much more of a kind of straightforward, hard rocking album. And a lot of fans really didn't like that. So it's one of those albums where like half the fan base says it's their best album and the other half says it's their worst album because it's not what they were expecting. It's so different.
That kind of thing.
But there's little nuggets throughout, and I hate to sound like fucking Mr. Radio Top 40 here, but it is hard to pick a song on this album better than Welcome to the Black Parade, and they're close.
Yeah.
But just how much of the album that track in particular encapsulates, how fucking epic and over the top it is.
It is a sort of like, wow, I could just listen to this song, and this gives you the idea of what this album is. Like, this encapsulates what the album is going for. Yeah.
And it was kicked around since either the first or second album. So, out of all the tracks on the album, it's the most that sounds like the first two albums. All the other ones have more of a very just straightforward hard rock.
Oh yeah, fucking teenagers, almost a rockabilly sound to it.
Yeah, the yeah. This album, it does take a lot of different. It goes down a lot of different avenues.
Oh, but I was here for it. Well, let's just start at the fucking beginning. With these.
Let's start with the end.
Yeah. with like two like. Not even 3-minute tracks in a row, but I think the first, it's not even 2 minutes, is it? Because it's like it opens with the beeping going on, hits you in the face with this epicness that like builds up, and I had that feeling where I was just like, whoa, I already feel like I've been rolling with these guys for at least like 2 tracks now, and I just look back, it's like it hasn't even been one barely, and then like just riding into Dead as you hear the beep. As it's become clear, because like
the flat line carries.
Yeah, exactly. The callback to the first song where you're like, oh, we got a theme going on here, and then and I was like, oh fuck, I'm here for it. Like they were already chums in my brain in terms of like, oh yeah, your boy is My Chemical Romance, right? like the way my brain was just like already just kind of like singing along with the melodies and just here for like as if I was already lived in them and I'd already heard these before. You know what I'm saying? When something just gets you that good, Typically
when I'm on Genius and I try to read the annotations, it's either someone's, just making some shit up, or it's like 100% verified by the artist. Because it's MCR, and because this fan base love them some fan theories, meaning behind all the songs is kind of up in the air. Like, there is kind of a through narrative, but not throughout the whole album.
Bit of a System of a Down situation going on here.
So you've got a character referred to as the patient who is dying and realizes later in the album that they have cancer, and the album is supposed to be their last chunk of life on Earth, told through these tracks. Teenagers is not in that. It's completely its own thing. We'll get to that, though.
I was kind of thinking about, like, wait, it's supposed to be, like, his dad talking to him, so maybe that track is him going, like, amongst all the good advice, he's also actually has his prejudices, too, or just like, kids scare the shit out of me, man. They're, like, all judging me.
The patient is a soldier, and it's the saying goodbye to the people around him. facing down the actions of his past, and ultimately accepting the damnation he is in store for.
Mother, we all go to hell.
The first time I heard the end, specifically, if you've heard the Ziggy Stardust album by Bowie, the first track on that album, 5 Years, has a lot of the same structure as this track, especially the end where it's like a kind of call and response. But something also I thought for the first time listening to it just this past week was how much it reminded me of the first track to The Wall. And reading up on Genius, that was actually intentional. That was an influence on the album. And having listened to The Wall a lot as a kid, it comes up a few times. And I can't help but draw a little bit of comparison between Mama and the song Mother from The Wall.
Well, I was thinking of that song and the Ozzy Osbourne song. But wait, no, not the Mama song, excuse me. It was the one before that. I just thought it was Mama because right afterwards it's called Mama. Hold on, let me get to the track. Yeah, Cancer. As I was listening to that track, I was kind of thinking of Ozzy Osbourne and how those 70s artists would put that little reverb effect on their voice, so so you can hear the clear notes kind of being played with by the effect. You know what I'm saying? That type of shit.
There's a part in Mama specifically where he kind of does this thing with his voice where he says, I should have been a better son. That reminded me.
I should have been a better son.
The song The Trial is when the character Pink is like being face down with like his wife and his mom.
Yeah.
Again, it's very there's a style there, and I'm like, all right, I'm picking up on what you were listening to at the time because it's coming through, but it doesn't feel derivative. It doesn't sound like you're ripping them off. It sounds like homages. It sounds like you took these little bits and pieces and you worked them in. And also how on The Wall, the first track ends with the sound of a baby crying that carries into the second track. On this one, you've got the flat line that carries you into Dead.
That's so dope.
And you've got some more kind of little things I didn't really pick up on. And I've listened to this album quite a few times before this, but that I never quite picked up on. Towards the end, Gerard Way, who is one of my just favorite vocalists in rock, he kind of puts on this little bit of almost like a German doctor accent to give the diagnosis. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much of this track that's just snarky and mocking a dying man, especially when it just comes to the la la la.
Right.
You're dead, you're dying, but here's this part where we're just gonna sing in your face. And then we got That's How I Disappear, another very driving track.
Oh yeah, especially it gets to the one part where he says can you hear me cry out to you, words I thought I'd choke on, figure out. I'm really not so with you anymore. I'm just a ghost, so I can't hurt you anymore. And after he says that, you hear the music kind of get more chaotic, like he's a ghost rocking everything around her. You know what I'm saying? It's so fucking insane. And afterwards, I think it's the lyric and now you want to see how far down I can sink. This is oh my god. You feel the descending. It's like Ghost, except it doesn't suck.
Sharpest Lives, the sound of the opening guitar chords, just the jing 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 jing, and then at the end of the song where it just kind of slows to a stop, the jing 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 jing. I love that. The live fast, die hard attitude. It really is presented really well with how aggressive and just again another driving track That's How I Disappear. I really like this track. I really like the I think the lyrics are some of the most striking up to this point.
Oh, yeah,
and the chorus is so fucking good. The, give me a shot to remember, and you can take the pain away from me. Your kiss and I will surrender. The sharpest lives are the deadliest to lead. That's the live fast, die hard type. A light to burn all the empires, so bright the sun is ashamed to rise, and be in love with all these vampires, so you can leave the sane abandoned me. Yo.
Oh. Man, I was about to mention just the two lyrics that happened before that in addition, right?
Oh, okay.
Because I was listening to it, and that fucking Pink song where it's kind of a little cheesy the way she does the blow me one last kiss.
Oh, yeah, and you can blow me a kiss.
Yeah, it's done so much better on this,
Yeah.
Like with the setup and payoff where you're just like, oh, it actually does sound like he's gonna say blow me, and then you get a kiss. It's like, oh shit.
Like, this album is so, like, it's super angry, but also, like, it's just like a super solemn listen.
It's so, like, it's so mean and nasty and cutting, and yet in that fun, adventurous way in how it's laid out, like, in that sense where it's like, there's things that sound like emo lyrics that, you know, if your parents walked in and listened, they're like, what are you hearing all this evil music about suicide and all these things? And, you know, your parents are like, oh, they don't understand. It's actually a deeper story about this, and I'm trying to pay attention to it, Mom. Okay, if you'd actually listen to my music. You know, it's like, it so gives you that energy, you know what I mean? Because, like, they know that the lyrics that they're saying are very, like, emo sounding, but it's like, it's clearly using the aesthetic of that emo-ness to tell that bigger story. You know what I mean? It's so cool.
I wrote down a quote for Welcome to the Black Parade. Way believed that at the time upon death, one would be greeted by their most fond memory and taken to the afterlife. The entire album is set as a rock opera where the patient slips towards death, recalling his past. He sees his favorite memory, his father taking him to see a parade. So that in his mind is like one of his favorite, earliest memories. And I guess, in a way, what he's telling him could possibly be, like, prepping him to go over and, like, fight the war. The, you know, will you defeat them? Will you, you know, all that.
I get you.
This song has become kind of a meme, but I think it's only because it's so iconic and memorable that, like, I think even if you're not a fan, you know at least some of these lyrics because they're so good. Like, you can't deny that.
Defeat them. You demons.
Even Kevin Smith. Did you see what I sent you? The fucking Kevin Smith is trying to put it in the beginning of Clerks 3. What are you doing, Kevin?
You know, I just listened to someone talking about how, like, you know, when movie makers, when they're just, like, making their first movies, all they do, like, like, when you can especially tell someone's a novice, when it just seems like they just got, like, a whole playlist of songs they want to play all around the movie. Like, okay, so check it out. Like, this song, and then it leads to this song, and then it leads to this song. You know, it's like, that's how you know it's like, you're probably not telling the best story because you're mainly thinking about the aesthetics of it, you know? And so, when you sent me that, we're just like, would it be really cool if I got this song? It's just like, I hope you're telling a good story behind that.
I kind of wish that he had done this sooner because I think I had heard at some point that Kevin knew about MCR early on because they're all Jersey boys. Like, MCR is from Jersey.
Okay,
Smith,
okay.
So it kind of makes sense, but also, like, you've waited quite a while to do this for this song that came out in 2006. You could have put it in Clerks too.
Yeah, I was like, that was the time to have put this out.
Would it have been too expensive? Is it too relevant?
Yeah,
can't do it now.
Relevant. I gotta wait until, you know, his relevance ages out and maybe that price goes down a little more, you know? Kevin Smith knows how to play that waiting game.
He had to open with an old Talking Heads song instead. Like, okay, like, I like that song too, Kevin, but I don't get why it's here.
Yeah.
I Don't Love You is an incredible track.
I just wrote down the stuff that, like, especially stuck out because, like, it's all good. So what are you gonna say? House of Wolves, that fucking rock swing rhythm going on. I was like, okay.
It sounded like the opening drums to, and God, this is gonna sound like such a fucking slight. It's not. Zoot Suit Riot.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But it's just because they're jazz drums, and you know, it's a very typical jazz drum arrangement there. They were setting a stage for a, quote, fiery jazz club filled with demons, wolves, and sinners preparing for the patient's arrival in hell. Yeah, I could see that. Listening to this, like, it totally fits the...
It's such a 1940s cartoon, like, welcome to hell, you know, but we're in 2006 with rock guitar, so, like, it actually sounds like you're going to hell, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's super menacing.
Yeah. Then we get fucking Cancer. Just as I was listening to that song, like, for the first time, and the beautiful melodies in it, I just, like, wrote down, I was like, wow, this is quickly becoming my favorite song. What's the title of this one again? Oh, Cancer. And just, like, having that moment of, like, oh, this shit's serious.
The first thing I have written down is just Jesus.
Oh man,
It's got, in my opinion, an opening piano note almost as infamous as the one that opens Black Parade. Like, you hear that note, it's like, oh yeah, it's Cancer. Oh man.
He about to pull up those heartstrings. And just the final part where he says, "The hardest part of this is leaving you." It's just like, oh, and like when you really take in what the song's about, it's just like I don't give a shit about all of this. Just knowing that you're the person I'm not gonna say anymore is what hurts. It gives you that emotion in such a like, this is a fucking love song. You know what I mean? Like, I felt that goddamn emotion. It wasn't just like, oh, baby, I love you. You know, like, no, I'm gonna make you feel this shit. You know what I'm saying?
I love how it precedes Mama, which is such a not loving song. That it's just like Cancer, like, oh my god, like, the hardest part of this is leaving you. Mama, we all go to hell. And it's like,
well, mother, what the war did to my legs and to my tongue, you should have raised a baby girl. I should have been a better son. That's the part.
Yeah, oof, god damn.
Oh man,
the delivery on this album is so fucking top notch. Fucking surprise cameo, Liza Minnelli, come on down.
Is that who that is?
Doing the little bit of almost spoken word part in Mama, is the one and only Liza Minnelli, who they just called up.
I'll be damned.
And was just like, you've got the fucking biting sarcasm on one end, and then you've got like the story of this mom who's disappointed in the actions that her son did, the don't return to me, you ain't no son of mine, all that, of just like, oh man, like, you've got your dad essentially telling you, you gotta grow up and you gotta go to war, and then you do, and then you come home, and your mom wants nothing to do with you. Like, oh, fucking hell. This is a goddamn roller coaster, I can't take it.
Of emotion, yeah. Oh, and then on Sleep, what is it? Just like, there's one phrase where just the impact of his words, where he says like, don't you breathe for me. It was like, whoa.
There are some parts, that part, I'm trying to think. On Famous Last Words, there's a bit of that, and also I Don't Love You. Just the just like the singing through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yes, and especially like the lyrics for Sleep, because the whole phrase in this part is like, "Don't you breathe for me, undeserving of your sympathy, because there ain't no way that I'm sorry for what I did." Like, I just love how it's like pulling apart that idea of, you know, someone who's passed. You know, we got to show respect for the dead, and like we're doing this for them and that sort of thing. But the person themselves being like, "No, I'm a piece of shit. You shouldn't be doing anything for me. Fuck me." You know, like, fuck my memory.
I mean, like, when you got on In the End, at first, it's like, I want to be nothing at all. Then just kind of the duality of, at the end of the song, just screaming for help. Like, somebody please save me. Of just like, maybe I'm not ready to die. I thought I was, but maybe I'm not. Shit. And on Sleep, it also has that kind of, like, I'm not afraid of what I've done. And then it's like, just sleep. And it's almost like, sleep to forget about the horrible things you've done as like a means of escape, but that's infiltrated your nightmares too. Like, there is no escape from it.
Ooh, the intro and the little samples that you hear someone talking were about like, you know, I couldn't breathe in the middle of my dream. Oh man, that made it so creepy.
So you've got the band stayed in the Paramore mansion during the making of the album, which is allegedly haunted. And the audio you hear is Gerard Way explaining a series of night terrors he experienced staying at the haunted mansion.
Yeesh.
So the night terrors matched with the nightmares in the song of like, yeah, that fucking does it. That works. Goddamn. Then you got the radio hit Teenagers, which apparently it just says Gerard was on the subway and he had a panic attack because of how many teenagers were on board, and just wrote the song about the incident. MCR fans, typically younger, especially in 2006, they would be like around teenager age. And the thing you might know about millennials has kind of become a joke about millennials joke about dying all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like the first generation that is less afraid of dying than ones in the past. So they just in general have like less to lose. so they just come across as ruthless and like reckless.
Well, maybe if the generations possibly before them had helped set up a world that had actual tolerance and shit in it, I mean, maybe people would be more happy to live on this earth. But what do I know?
So when you got Gerard like met with the image of just like being surrounded by these people, like, yeah, it's horrifying. Of just like, you don't know what these fuckers are capable of.
Hey, what if they're mad at me? They're gonna get me on it.
They'll leave you alone, but not me.
Yeah.
Not me, though.
Yeah. And then I love the one part, like, that just threw me off when I realized what it was about that he was saying, but in that sort of, like, I didn't say it, but you know what I'm saying? The boys and girls on the clique, the awful names that they stick, you're never gonna fit in much, kid, but if you're troubled and hurt, what you got under your shirt will make them pay for the things they did. This is like, oh!
We fucking talked about this song whenever we talk about radio edits and how the radio will edit shirt.
Shirt? Really?
Yeah, what you've got under your...
That makes it sound worse.
I know. It's like, under my what? Now it's a mystery.
It's like in my underwear.
Yeah, like what?
What you got under your drawers?
Yeah, I guess they wanted to like remove any possibility of it being a gun.
That's what censorship is really about. It's really about like, okay, if you're young and you're a dumb kid and you can't necessarily make the connection yet, like, censorship is there to completely sever a word that can help you make that connection. That's what I realized censorship really does. You know what I mean? Because, like, you listen to this song, you're just like, wait, I couldn't figure out what that meant without that word now, and now I'm just confused. And if you're a kid, you're even more confused because you have even less context. That's what the fuck it's about. Man. It's about just being super unhelpful to people.
Then we got Disenchanted.
Yeah, perfect emo vibes.
Yeah.
I spent my high school career spit on and shoved to agree so I could watch all my heroes sell a car on TV, bring out the old guillotine, we'll show them what we all mean. It was like,
yeah.
Wait, what? I had the moment of like, oh man, yeah, like, of course you could take that first lyric as like being about peer pressure, but then you also think about like, well, isn't that kind of what our parents do? They kind of force us to agree with what the system is, and then it's like, also you can see like, the most successful people in the world, like, what do they end up doing? What becomes of their lives? You know what I mean? And then it's just like, and it's like, so, if teenagers was the anger, this is the sort of like, this is why we're angry. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, I'm tired of this old shit. Bring out that guillotine, show them what we mean. It's like, whoa. It's like every time, like, that's what happens. I feel like on this album, it'll make you like feel an emotion, like, yeah, I understand, and it'll give you that one lyric that's one step further. You just go like, whoa, wait a minute.
As good of an outro song as you can get with famous last words, if we're not counting Blood. And I guess we're not counting Blood.
I count it as a little outro because it is so awesome with the way it just perfectly has that little 1940s, piano guy wrapping up the whole plot in the perfectly cheeky way that this whole album has kind of played
And it's
out,
even got like the radio kind of effect on it, like
Absolutely.
It's coming through an old Victrola.
Yes, and the lyrics are still so sharp in what they're about. Like, it's like the looking back at himself and the fact that, like, oh yeah, this is all about exploiting, my fucked up life and all of my problems. Like, I am making money off of giving you people my blood, and this is, like, kind of horrible for me to go through, but I'm doing it because it makes me money.
It's funny, we just recently reviewed a song with the exact same title, with the exact same meaning, on the fucking Pearl Jam Versus.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Also about, like, giving your blood for the industry, and, yeah. I don't know what else there is more to say about this one.
What else is there to fucking say?
What else is there to say?
It's a solid-ass album.
It stands up remarkably well for an album that is almost 15 years old at this point.
And interestingly enough, ends with, I am not afraid to keep on living, which is... like, just such an... like, it got me in my feelings, and it was such an interesting thing in terms of, like, hey, this is an emo band that's ending with, hey, keep on living, guys.
It's got such a little hopeful little message at the end.
Like, I know this was about death, but seriously, fans, don't...
I'm not afraid to walk this world alone. Come on. That fucking... yeah, the way it just ends, and the way the music dips out, and the vocals stay as loud, and oof. Production. We haven't even mentioned it, but goddamn, the production on this album is so fucking good. So crisp. Goddamn.
Incredible.
5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Forbidden by Todrick Hall, requested by, of course, who other than Kyle Summers, who also requested Straight Outta Oz.
Ah, is that a fact?
The, which I didn't realize, the precursor
to
Forbidden.
And what's so fascinating about it is it totally has that feeling of like, here's if I did this a different way.
Yeah.
Here's if I heightened what I was going for in that last album.
This one, more so than Straight Outta Oz, if you're not really watching along to what the story is,
oh man,
it doesn't really click just listening to the songs.
Let me tell you the journey I had.
Yeah, we had different experiences here.
So I came into this, I'm like, okay, it's Todrick Hall, it's your boy. I know I'm going to be getting some quality. Boom, let's throw on this album and take a listen. Then, I see 30 tracks. I'm like, whoa, double album. Whoa. I was like, oh, slow your roll, Chief. Double album. Oh, hour, 30 minutes. It hoits. Wait.
Because Straight Outta Oz was kind of a similar situation. I mean, like it was a short film, but it wasn't an hour and a half, though.
It wasn't a movie.
Yeah.
But then I start listening to these tracks, and I'm like, okay, though. You're giving me what I need, though. You're giving me the energy. You're giving me the musicality. You're giving me the lyricism. You're giving me the music. You're giving me the vocal lines. I'm fucking here for all of this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? But then there were a couple of tracks where I was like, I don't know how I feel about these tracks. I don't know how I feel about such and such track without him on it, where it's like someone else singing. Because I'm like, but I like Todrick. I love this guy's voice. I want to hear him this whole time. I mean, Brady on the track, of course. I mean, that's great. But like every now and then, it's just like other people where you're like, but okay, I mean, I guess.
What's going on here?
Yeah, what's happening? But it's fine. And then there's 1 or 2 tracks where I remember just feeling like, I just don't know how this song hits me. It's just not really like, it's just not giving me the energy that I think he's trying to give me. And then you told me about the movie. And I was like, okay, sure. Well, put out a movie with a bunch of music videos. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's gonna like inform me as to what's gonna happen. Okay. And then this motherfucker fucking just pushed my goddamn wig back with how the visuals of this film elevated some of these tracks in a way that just like fucking blew my mind. Like even the tracks I liked tenfold better after seeing how he put the visuals to him and how he put it into a story. So yes, let's fucking break this shit down, right? Mm-hmm. So we get in Trust No Bitch, which starts off, it's just kind of like the credits of the scene, and I'm watching it and just like, hey, this looks really cool, but it's just kind of like credits, but cool imagery, but cool seeing him do like fun, interesting shit. And this is a song sort of just sets the stage. I don't trust nobody. That sort of thing. And I'm kind of feeling like, all right, this is you got to make this song right. This is the haters can get off me. Yeah.
What's going on here? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Then we get to Wanted, and he gets on that pop shit real quick, and that shit is so crisp, and I'm just like, all right, I'm with you on this shit. And then watching the music video was like, I'm a man who's in jail, I'm a wanted man, what's going on? I'm like, okay, and it kind of looked like it was just going to be like, oh, it's going to be the video, we're just going to be little vignettes in small places. I'm like, okay,
right,
I got it, this is fun.
Yeah, still doesn't really make too much sense yet.
Exactly, I'm like, all right, it's cool, it's whatever. Then it gets to Change My Mind, another pop song. And then, what is that, with the one where he's like, I'm out of fucks and I don't care, and you hear the boop, 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 you hear the epic synth come in, I'm like, okay, this motherfucker ain't just trying to make some pop songs, he's trying to make some, I'm coming for you, Ariana Grande pop songs, I'm coming for the top 40 type of songs, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's trying to make some real fucking hits out this bitch, right?
I think I gotta pump the brakes for a second.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we're going a little too fast.
Oh, all right.
I hated this.
What?
I hated this. I was not a fan of the album.
Oh, no.
The movie is fucking garbage?
Oh no! Wait a minute!
I could not believe. I knew it. I fucking knew we were gonna see.
Here we go. The Going On podcast.
This is why I wanted to save it till the end. Because I knew we were going to have an interesting discussion about this one. Look, nothing. Okay, do you remember a few years ago when they came out with a new Heathers?
Oh, I ain't watched that shit.
Okay, so you had the old Heathers. They're all like white women, whatever. Then for the remake, they were like, you know what would be weird? You know what would be quirky social commentary? Is if we made all the bullies people who are normally bullied. So we got a fat woman who's now bullying skinny women, and we've got gay people that are bullying straight people. And people were like, no, this doesn't help. What the fuck is this? This is garbage. And then I see this. I'm glad House Party was 2 EPs and he didn't try this shit again. Because he's not good at it.
Oh.
Straight Outta Oz had its moments. Overall, it was a fucking mess. This album, considerably less high points in my opinion, and it's a fucking mess.
Damn.
And in both instances, he tries to shoehorn in the most awkward way, racism commentary. Where it almost doesn't fucking belong because he doesn't deal with it with any tact at all. It feels like an afterthought. Okay, because in Straight Outta Oz, the whole thing was, hey, here's Todrick's story. He's a gay guy trying to make it in the industry.
Right.
And he's comparing it to Dorothy's journey down the road to Oz.
Yeah.
All right, I get that. Why all of a sudden at the last couple tracks there's songs about green people being killed by police, and we're making it like a police brutality thing of like the Wicked Witch, like, whoa, where did this come from? What is this doing in here? And it was like 1 or 2 things and that was it. He did the exact same thing again. He tried it again, and it's even sloppier.
Yeah, what's different with this one though is that at least what I thought what he was going for as I listened to it, right? Because it at the very beginning, what is it? What's that one song that plays the national anthem? And I remember when I first heard, that was one of the tracks that I didn't like at first. I was just like, oh, okay, I see what you're
especially if you don't know what's going on. Yeah, it makes no sense.
But then when I saw the Nakarima, and I was just like, what the fuck is Nakarima? And then I had the moment of, oh, it's America backward.
See, and we had different reactions.
You were like, who does this art school kid think he is?
I rolled my eyes out of my fucking head at Nakarima, and then later on, we'll get to it, but on Ordinary Day, the street name is Trayvon spelt backwards.
Oh.
Like, come on. That's just so fucking, right out of goddamn college, I think I'm clever bullshit. Oh, it's spelled backwards because everything's reversed.
It's a very campy video, right? The whole thing is very campy, and I think what he was going for was heightening the emotion of what was happening in order to make that social commentary about things, right? I don't know, like, whereas I feel like you're seeing it in a way of like, how thuddingly obvious. I kind of saw it in a sort of like, here is a camp production that was already fun and silly, and oh, you didn't know we was actually going to say something a little spicy about this shit on top of that, though. And whereas your point about saying the, where you said the Heathers kind of failed, I feel like this actually did a good job of, at least as I kept engaging with what was happening in the plot, you know what I'm saying? And how they tried to reverse things. Because what it looked like to me is like, okay, so this is a reverse America. What if the 1950s happened and instead of like heterosexuality is the norm, like homosexuality is the norm, and to deviate from that is to be wrong. Now, of course, you have the immediate question of, wait, well, how does this society make people but don't
there's a lot of you gotta dispel that disbelief there for this. You just gotta leave that questioning at the door. It doesn't apply.
But all right, we're making gay art social commentary. Okay, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for the New York studentery of it all, right? So because I guess it just depends on how it hits you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of like when I had that moment of like, because as I was listening to it at first, it threw me off. I think that's what it was. When I listened to it at first, I was thinking like, okay, like the last album, oh, this is gonna be about how, he loves his parents and all that stuff, and he loves where he came up from. Oh, but it's kind of problematic because, he had to deal with his father not being accepting of him.
Right.
So, but there were moments where I kept hearing lyrics where it didn't feel right? It was all American. That was the moment where I was like trying to figure out what was happening, because the lyric says, "Love thy neighbor, spread his word when you can," and I was like, okay, well, this sounds positive, and then it goes like, "Turn your back on things you don't understand," and I was like, okay, so we're I see what you're doing here. You showed us like, oh, things can be good, like you see the some good qualities, but then this is like the closed-mindedness of it all, right? Because there's the expectation that, oh, of course this is going to be about, the oppression and the awful America we live in. But then having that moment of like, well, of course you thought that was going to happen, but what if we spice it up with this? But what I liked on top of that was that I feel like it didn't go for an easy thing for it, actually, as the plot sort of furled out, right? Because it starts off with the idea of something that seems actually relatively obvious and just a little campy with the way they explored it in a way that at first made me kind of feel like bristle a little bit. You know what I'm saying? When it shows a stage with this woman who's singing this very 50s type of music, right? And she's like, but it's all about how she's gonna make it up in the world. But you're watching her, and it's this white woman singing, and there was a thing in my brain that was just like, that doesn't seem like she's singing that, but okay, whatever, it's a music video,
Yeah.
They do that all the time. But then it cuts to the black people looking very disapprovingly. And I had that moment of, oh, I see what's happening here. And I was thinking like, oh, what if we were in a universe in which, black people were in positions of power to see, these white people performing their music, but not to the same standards. And it's showing her like kind of on stage, kind of be like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And then it cuts to like, I think it's one song happens and then another song happens where a black woman is performing and she's like, my life is great, everything's okay, my life is fine, and everything's all right with me. And everyone's performing good. And everyone's clapping and like, yeah, awesome. And I had that moment of like, as you listen to it though, you can tell it's a white woman singing it, a white woman's voice singing it, but it's the black performer, and it's just like this sort of hitting your brain with like, what the expected reality is, and I'm flipping that for some reason, and you're paying attention to, like, that's what kept pulling me in, right? The idea is like, I'm flipping this and you're noticing that, and like if you're keyed into what's going on, you're seeing something's wrong here with how this usually plays out, right?
I didn't particularly notice that it was different people singing the lyrics. I guess it would have helped at the time to make that make a little bit more sense. What I got out of it was, because I saw a video on Twitter recently of, I forgot the musician, but it was this black singer. He was fucking killing it, and he was on like a television show like in the 60s, like early 60s, and they kept panning the audience, and the audience were mostly young white women, like not really into it. Like one girl was clapping along, but like all the other ones kind of seemed to like, either they felt like they shouldn't, or just they were racist and didn't want to.
Right.
So I'm watching this performance, and in my head I'm thinking, she doesn't really sound particularly good. Maybe that's the point. Like, she's kind of singing like super extra, but the audience like is kind of, yeah, whatever. They're not really into it. And then later, when you go to Silver Spoon, and the voice is like super obnoxious.
Yes.
And I think that was the point of like, not only is this a black woman, but also the performance is really shitty, but the audience doesn't care because the lyrics is, they took one look at my black skin and told me I would get everything that was coming to me. And the audience was eating it up. It's like,
when I came to that track at first, I had that feeling of like, all right, what's this doing here? But like the fact that its badness is kind of the point, kind of made me go like, oh, like it just broke me in a way that's like, but that's kind of what camp is, right? Like I think about sort of like John Waters and stuff like that, where it's just like the point is that it's doing this like overly done emotional thing, but it's still trying to say something about that, but doing it in a heightened way. And that's what kind of made me have an appreciation of it, right?
I think it's fine. just in the context, it feels shoehorned.
But then when it gets to the part that we're talking about, right? So, there's the white guy just walking down the street enjoying an ice cream cone, and then a black police officer just hops out of his car and points a gun at the guy, and it's like a really tense scene, and then, it just cuts to this kid popping, bubble gum, and you see the white kid, lay down on the street and dead, you know what I'm saying? And then a musical number happens, and everyone just starts dancing, and they're like, it's a perfect day in the neighborhood, and everyone's acting like it's fine, and then you see like two women walking by, and they, leap over the dead body to be like, everything's fine, and they're all happy, and like, they show this like musical number happening, and like, it pans out, and you see this great dance number, and everyone's dancing around, but like, at the corner, you still see the dead guy.
So, again, I thought that was great, and I thought if you did more with it, it would have had a bigger impact. But they come out of like the most random parts in this movie.
Yeah, it is a very it is not a narrative serving sort of film in the direct sense. I took it more in like the abstract way of it. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of like, okay, I kind of get this is a little more vignette-y than I was expecting, but it was actually like bigger than I was expecting at first, because again, watching the first video, it looks like it's just, I'm in a prison cell, and maybe the next video I'm gonna be like getting arrested and going over here. But then like when you actually saw like the costume pieces and people dancing, I was like, oh, this is a production. Oh, you're gonna give me some. Yeah, you have that moment happen, and again, I thought I did think of it as a little. I was like, okay, you're making the point, like you're making it really obvious, but having that like dark side of like, but I'm still not gonna make you forget about the fact that what this looks like in a parallel world, and what I'm commenting on the fact that we are not thinking about people's deaths, right? As the narrative evolves, it's made clear it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna find himself a man. Earlier we mentioned how on the other album how it like really makes you feel the emotion of love on certain tracks, right? On here, I think it really does. I think there are some tracks that really get you to feel what's going on. Okay, here's what threw me off. There's a track in here called 2003, and the whole point of the track is just supposed to be, what initially it felt like was just supposed to be like, references to things in 2003, my MySpace, my top 8, which I was like, alright, that's a little corner monkey. But then, like, as the verses go on, it becomes way more about like how he felt in the moment of 2003 and how this person made him feel. So like the aesthetics of it feel more like the window dressing on the real emotion of that time, which threw me the fuck off, because you hear lots of other songs where it's like, hey, remember this year, let's just make a lot of corny movie references and shit, you know what I'm saying? He is supposed to fall in love, with the right person that you're supposed to, which is a man, right? And you see it here, what is the song? The song right before, Type? Oh my god, that fucking video was so goddamn cool.
Yeah.
It was so epic. I love shopping at the asshole store. And, as I heard that line, I thought about, like, how, again, like, kind of, like, cheeky and, like, just, like, so unabashedly, forward with what it is, about what it is, right? And, you could play it in that typical problematic way that it does, but Todrick has just such a fucking Will Smithian level of charisma that, like, the intent of the song shines through, and how it's like, no, this isn't supposed to just be me saying like, oh, I love bad boys. Like, no, there's a bigger plot, and I'm like giving you the emotion of the person who goes through this instead of like glorifying it. You know what I mean? Like, I really did feel like I got that in how it's making this song about how I love shopping at the asshole store, and you see the different guys with, lazy and, the different things that's wrong with them on their shirts and shit. And then it cuts to the next song, which I originally really didn't enjoy, Thug Trade, where it was just like, and it was just like, I want a thug, and I was just like, all right,
I wish I would have listened to the album before I saw the movie, but then I would have had a lot of fucking questions, and then I would have needed to watch the movie again anyway, so it would have ended up having to listen to the album twice, and I don't know if I'd want to do that. But my opinions on the album, unfortunately, are affected by my opinions of the movie, so I gotta separate it. But if we're gonna go to the beginning, okay?
Yeah.
Because I think we did a little skipping around, just to go back to the beginning for a tiny bit. The first 3 tracks are modern day. This Nolan character being arrested. I don't really know what Trust No Bitch has to do with that scenario in that situation or what it was there, but it was whatever. I didn't think the hook was that good. I trust no bitch, hell to no bitch, I trust no bitch. Because bitches do bitch things. I was like, okay, whatever. Okay,
again,
whatever.
Yeah.
it was a very meh intro. Wanted continuation of that. He's in jail now. Changed my mind. Same thing. I really did like the line. I thought I would have rathered live with a lie than die with the truth, but I changed my mind, or I might have got something switched up there. I thought that was a good line. Overall, though, with how glitchy it was with that was jarring and took me out of it.
Dubsteppy,
I was not a fan of that. And also, Todrick has a really interesting voice, and when he's just like talk singing like he was on that one with like flat delivery, I really wasn't interested in that. We didn't talk about Lullaby. I didn't care for that song at all. And I hate to step on Brandy's toes, but her delivery on that song was so annoying to me. She sounded like she was singing with her mouth super wide open, so like she wasn't enunciating words. If that makes sense, like the ends of words were being cut off.
That's how I felt when I first heard it, but for some reason, the visuals added to it just gave it that level of like, oh, but I feel okay. It just shows how visuals can hypnotize you. And yeah, I remember having that feeling too. And also, I remember also feeling like the beat just felt like it was slightly off beat. You know what I'm trying to say? It was like
I think so.
The lullaby. I was just like,
yeah, no,
yeah.
It was super awkward, and I couldn't really get into that one.
But Brandy still fucking looks 23. What the hell?
That is strange. Yeah. So I guess what I get there, if I'm taking the visuals literally, that Nolan's mom was a nun who had to give up her child because I guess she had the child in a hetero relationship, and that's a no-no, so she had to give up the kid. None of this is mentioned again for the whole fuck story, by the way. So if you wanted resolution on any of that, sorry, too bad.
He had to do the same thing that he did from the last album. He seems to have a template. I have to have the song where I'm singing about my mom.
So I guess he gets adopted by, like, the people who are in charge, like, I don't know if they're like...
Oh, right, because it's like a priest who... Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not really sure. We got the national anthem. I did like Tamar Braxton's voice. I thought they sounded fine. I'm guessing this is Nolan's adopted mom? Is that who she is?
What I enjoy about it when I see the Nicarima thing is because I had that moment of like, oh, is he like making up a country like Zamunda? Because like it does sound like a fake country. You know what I mean? Like it does give me that second of like, oh, is this supposed to be like a Nigerian country where like what, no white people are allowed or something? And then it's like, oh, alternate universe America though.
I'm still confused as to how we have a song called All American when America isn't.
Yeah, it's like stick with the thing.
I was kind of hung up on that one. Like, you didn't have to. Like, that doesn't have to be the name of the song. That doesn't have to be the bar. But it is, and it's confusing.
He knew it wouldn't play if he said all Nemerican.
Well, you don't have to do that. You don't have to say the name of the country. It could be something else. But that's where it kind of teases. If you're just listening, you wouldn't know. But you get these visuals of, Nolan's wanting to play with boy toys. He has to play with girl toys. And there's a part where he's looking over his fence and he sees this girl walking by. And again, you're getting these little hints of like, okay, so Nolan's straight and that's going to be a problem. I'm getting that. Okay, got it.
Huh.
Then that doesn't come up for a while. Into what's going on, the first of many pointless interludes. You got these two people who are nosy neighbors, and they're saying, I thought that was so stupid. I love that! That could have been spoken word narration. Get that shit out of here.
I enjoyed the 50s falsetto about the nosy bastards, you know what I'm saying? I love it. And then seeing the two women in the video. I had fun with that. Again, I was here for the campy, silly aspects of it.
Normally I'm here for campy. I just thought this movie was insulting.
It just hit you with the bad... It started off with a bad taste in your mouth, and it just was hard to stay on board.
Yeah, I just think it's such a shitty... I just think the whole thing is so shitty. But anyway...
I thought that he was gay all the way, and then he meets this woman who, like, he has a connection with, and is like, oh, I realize that, like, I don't need to just be with men. Maybe it's like, whoever I have a connection with is who with men. And, like, that's what I was thinking.
That's why I was super confused. And this has a bearing on it for me personally. If Todrick was growing up and was dating women, thinking he was straight, then realized he was gay in real life. And this is like a mirrored image of that. It's like, okay, I get that. But if that's not the case in the movie this whole time, because it's all contextual. It shows him getting arrested. And you're like, okay, what did he do? The word of the Lord is, only men with men and women with women. It's like, oh, okay, so he probably went against that. Like, I'm gonna guess that's what he did. And then you see the shots of like him, like his parents taking the toys away from him and him looking at the girl over the fence. And you're like, okay, I get it, gotcha. Then we fast forward 11 years to this. I guess he's rich now.
Yeah.
I don't know how or why.
Because we had to make the song about how I got money. My least favorite track on the album. It's just so awkward.
I used to be a broke ass bitch. Stop.
Oh.
Stop. So awkward. I hated this one.
Oh my god, the word money just sounds so awkward when you put the emphasis on the opposite syllable, I got money.
This is the first track on the album, we're 8 tracks in, that is anything resembling a Todrick banger, and it almost feels like a parody of a Todrick banger.
Yeah.
I thought the instrumental was okay. He's 11 years older now, and we're getting a track like, I remember there was another track on Straight Outta Oz, like, this shit's expensive, where it was like, okay, I guess we're getting a random song about money, just kind of thrown in here.
Again,
all right.
You got a template.
And then we get, God, I hated this so much. This has nothing to do with the album, but there's this skit of random people coming up to his door asking for money, and it goes on for a fucking eternity. Yeah. And and even at the end of it, it has no bearing on anything.
Well, like,
I don't know why it needs to be there.
It didn't work out like how you would expect, because it's like new neighbors don't go up to you asking for money. That's
I didn't get that.
Yeah, and if he's supposed to be this bad bitch who's like, why are you giving away this money?
Yeah, why are you just doing it? I don't get that.
Why are you?
It didn't make any sense. And again, I'm sorry. I understand that I gotta leave some things at the door, right? But if this is an alternate kind of universe, why are you name dropping RuPaul and Taylor Swift in your, like, are they real in this universe too?
Yeah, they are that cool. They transcend universes. They're multiversional.
So then we go from this attempt at a banger to the back-to-back songs of, now we're going to talk about racism. We haven't 8 tracks into this album, but we're going to randomly now. It's like, okay. I even saw black people and white people outside Nolan's house at the beginning of the album all picketing him together, so I had, up to this point, no impression that there was like a racism aspect to this, but alright, I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't ultimately become that much of a thing. We then go to Nobody, which is the first song up to this point in the album that I gave a rating higher than a 2.5. I thought it was a sweet song. You got this waitress, and she's singing to another woman in the diner.
Yeah. This one was actually one of the ones I was okay with. See, we're having opposite experiences right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We are having mirrored experiences.
Oh, look at that. Multi-universe.
So, in the context of the visual of the movie, it didn't fit tonally. I was like, okay, I guess this is just kind of happening.
Yeah, it's like, who is this?
Just kind of watching the movie, I saw she singing across the diner, and you see that Nolan is looking up from the booth.
Yeah, every now and then it's like a little sort of like,
And in my head I was like, is she singing to Nolan or is she singing to that woman?
That's what
I wonder if that's going to become a thing later on. This random moment where these 2 white backup singers who have, again, been acting perfectly like whatever in this scene, no one's really batting an eye about it. One of them spills this black woman's drink.
Oh, you're right.
She calls her this made-up alternate universe slur.
Nicodem, and I was just so confused because I was like, what is...
It's so jarring because it's right after this super sweet song. It just kind of happens. And if that was like the point of like, oh, it could just kind of happen. But then she just goes back and finishes the song.
Yeah, they do it like a
that
slower... Yeah.
she doesn't go over to comfort the waitress who was just called a slur or anything. She just goes over and finishes her song. So I'm like, okay, I don't like her now. I immediately don't like her. Great. You made me turn against this queer couple because she just looked over and went, oh well, whatever. Let me go over here and finish this song. I was like, all right, cool, all right. Then we go to the Silver Spoon, which I did like the visual transition from, there's like a spoon in the diner, and then it went to the spoon that was on the singer's head. And I get it, like Silver Spoon, the opportunity you're granted. You're born with it because she's black, she's getting the advantages. I got that. Type and Thug, now all of a sudden, Nolan's gay now. I didn't get that. I didn't get where that came from, but it's just that's just how it is now. I was up to this point under the impression that he was secretly straight and keeping that a secret.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, guess he's gay now. All right, listening to Type, listening to Thug.
Okay.
And I was so annoyed that it took us this fucking late to get to songs like this, because I really did like Type and Thug. I thought those were two... I think those are more his strength. Yeah. Like, kind of those more banger tracks.
And look, but I will say the thing I still didn't like about Thug was the auto-tune on the thing. It just hit wrong every single time. It was just like...
Like, the guy he was seeing cheated on him. So...
Again, it's more about the visuals than telling a cohesive story necessarily, but, you know.
Dem beats, though... first song of the album I genuinely enjoyed.
Man, I didn't like the song as much on when I heard it on the album. You know, I was just like, okay, well, I kind of like when he's talking shit and has more lyrics going on. But it's like, but all right, you gotta have the dance tracks. I get it. You gotta keep them up. And then when I saw the music video and had that moment where you see I almost had to do a double take because I wasn't paying attention for a second. And then I saw it looked like he was putting down heels, but then it was like, wait, I hear clopping. Is that a horse? And then I look and see the horse heels. Like that it has the close up. And then boom, they don't make them beats like they. I was like, oh shit. And the fucking eraser-headed RuPaul, I was here for it, man.
Look, I've tried to listen to RuPaul solo tracks. Man, don't.
In small doses.
In small doses, I can take RuPaul. There was a song on Straight Outta Oz, I mentioned it in that review, called Low, that wasn't on the standard issue. It was on the deluxe edition. Low. I thought that was so good. And RuPaul was on that one, just doing a little guest verse, and I thought that worked great. I was like, little small doses is fine. Then we got this two songs that kind of feel like one that just kind of switches halfway through between Break My Heart and 11.
Break My Heart was like a minute, right?
It was almost just like an intro to 11.
Yeah.
Where now all of a sudden, this waitress we saw singing to the woman in the restaurant not but a half hour ago is now just with Nolan, I guess. I have no idea, and I didn't even get any impression that this was gonna, like, really... Besides the inkling that they were looking at each other during Nobody, did I really get the impression that this was gonna happen, because nothing between those two tracks gave you a hint that that was going to happen.
Right.
I did like the, I'm here till 11... I did like that track. I thought it was pretty cool.
I really enjoyed the Waitress Love song, man. I thought that was such an earworm for me. And and I do love in the video where it does the "Do you want to play?" and they sing together. They sing together so wonderfully.
Play is a really good song. Yes, oh my God. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fucking magical. It's like I got Whole New World vibes, like straight up and down when they were singing at the end. Yeah, and
Play's good.
And do you want to play? And then, what was that one part in the video where he's, like, hiding from the two other women, and, like, he hits up against the video game, console, and you hear, like, the actual noise of a video game go off? I was like, that was so cute, like...
Yeah, because they mention, like, arcades in the lyrics, too.
Yeah!
I thought that worked really well. I'm not saying this album is, completely without its high points. It definitely does have some high points. Play is definitely one of them. Dem Beats...
This is the point in the movie where it cuts to the reporter, who I love, by the way. He just has a great delivery the whole time. But on this one, he specifically is like going like, there have been reports of some, and he pulls out this like comically oversized towel to pat his head. Heterosexual activity spotted in the neighborhood. I love that moment. Now, I want to explain how I came to it, because what I was thinking was, oh, okay, we're in this world where everyone's just supposed to be what feels like the right way. Men with men and women with women. You know, like, doesn't that sound like it's the right way? So just do it that way. Like, that's what I was kind of thinking, like, going off of. Like, if that's your premise, boom. And then having the idea of, like, but this guy, and see, the way I thought of it is, you have these two songs that I felt like it truly established, no, he likes men. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you saw the music video, you know, it's not like he's like, oh, I guess I'll have sex with a gay guy. You know, it's like, no, it's like, you see a bunch of fucking handsome looking motherfuckers, some fucking GQ model ad looking motherfuckers.
These fucking dudes have their asses out, essentially.
Yes. They're man candy. They're mandy.
They're Mandy. So it's like, okay, cool. And like, again, nothing tips you off that 11 is gonna happen. It's like, well, okay.
So the way I looked at it was, here is someone who is genuinely gay, who is discovering that he may also like a woman. And so, like, you know, in both worlds, where we are in world where straight people are in charge and the world where gay people are in charge, you should be allowed to, hey, love what the expected person is. You're supposed to love whatever, but if you want to love the opposite person, that's fine. Like, that should be the message. But the fact that it's just like, no, things are supposed to be this way now. And so that's how I kind of, like, felt like I was approaching it. So it kind of felt like there was a more intersectional message of it, of like, we should all be accepting of the even more divisive versions within, like, LGBT, that maybe even within LGBT people aren't as accepting of, like someone who's bisexual, like someone who's pan. You know, like, that's what I was thinking as I was listening to it. And so it's like, but in both of these worlds, hey, you're gonna have these closed-minded people. Now, I do see your point, to which is saying, like, oh, isn't it all the same? And I was like, damn, when you bring that up, I get your point, because bringing it up with the Heathers thing, but I just feel like, you can tell any story anyway, as long as you do it the right way. And that Heathers definitely did sound like it did it the wrong fucking way. And I think this teetered the line in a way that, like, used the camp elements to say, like, this is ridiculous, but join me for what the story is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it did enough where it brought me along with it. But I can understand how, if it hits you in that sour way, like, yeah, it's hard to salvage, because there already is that expectation of, well, you're supposed to be in a heterosexual relationship, and here's this movie about a gay world in which it's controversial to be in a straight relationship. It's like, well, that doesn't really play in this world, where it just seems like you're just using this alternate universe to say, let's be a normal, quote-unquote, normal relationship. You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying in that respect.
And you're portraying queer people as the villains you're supposed to not like.
Right, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It might be my own like, again, I can't shame Todrick as a gay man for making this story. You know, it's his story to make. And my experience might not be what everyone else's experience, you know, is watching this, but I just thought it wasn't really bad taste. Like, I just hated we're gonna present these queer people who, in the real world, are presented as, like, you know, degenerates.
Yeah.
And people you're not supposed to like. And now we're watching this movie where you're not supposed to like them either. They're hate-filled villains, and just...
The reason why they are hate-filled is because of the closed-minded people that it should be directly reminding you of. But I can see how... you know what I'm saying? That can get lost in the sauce when you're figuring in the real life.
It's a weird trope that it just feels like the alternate reality is the mirror image Twilight Zone ass shit. Feels
the white
lazy
man's
to
burden,
me.
Sort of like, yeah, you know, or
I guess it's because you basically told a very similar story with the first one, and I thought you told it in a better way. Maybe not with the best songs either, because I remember when we reviewed that album, I listened back to it, we thought like the first 4 tracks were good, and then like maybe a couple sprinkled throughout were decent.
I remember having that feeling of like, this guy's really talented, but these songs don't sound like finished, like...
Yeah, I think because like I like what he did with Ordinary Day specifically, especially with like the choreography and how it's like a ballet, like the cop and the white man are almost like in this dance before he shoots him.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. And as its own standalone music video, like, yeah, that's really powerful. in the context of this movie, where up till this point you're not talking about race, and you're just slapping that in there, it's like, whoa. And it's like, anyway, back to regularly scheduled program. We're not going to talk about race for practically the whole rest of the movie. You got it for like 10 minutes, and now we're back to the regular story. I was like, what? Okay, fine. Doll hairs, almost okay.
I enjoyed
I
that
thought it
one.
could have been good.
I enjoyed the Lupe Fiascian word flip he does with where you realize like, oh, dollars, doll hairs,
But yeah.
And just the way Shangela introduces it with the way she's being, she's like, ain't nobody seen me pick it up. I don't play when it comes to my doll hairs.
Yeah,
I fucking love that.
like I think it teetered on could have been one of the best. Like it is still one of the better tracks. But it's not, it's not quite there.
I think I enjoy it better than Bitch Better Have My Money. I'll give it that. How about that?
I don't know about that, actually. I don't know how I feel about that.
You're a fan of Bitch Better Have My Money?
I think it's all right.
I never liked that song.
I didn't at first when it came out, but I've warmed up to it. Then in the chronological order of the album is where 2003 is.
Yeah, because 2003 isn't in the movie. And then it plays the Animal song instead, which I don't like.
No,
that was the song. That was the song where I got bored and started thinking, "Hey, if it's an all-gay society, how do they keep making people?"
Yeah,
because I was so bored, I was able to think about the flaws.
Animals is the track I thought of earlier when you said, where's Todrick? I miss Todrick. That was fucking Animals. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this is, but they're boring the shit out of me. It's at this point of the movie,
this fucking fake ass John Bellion out of here.
where, oh my god, yeah, where Nolan and the waitress, whose name I forgot, unfortunately, they're kind of like runaways, fugitives. And they take refuge at this, like, commune, kind of like hid-away, kind of like nightclub for straight couples to be who they are.
It kind of reminded me of, what was that, Janelle Monáe emotion picture she did?
Yes! Yeah. But they didn't really deal with it for very long for it to, like, be a thing. So I noticed there was a skunk on the table where the woman, like, hey, and it kind of gives them a rundown and then lets them in. And then you saw, like, a zebra walking around. Someone was just, like, walking a zebra randomly. So it's like, okay, there's, like, a bunch of animals here, too. I don't really understand why there's, like, wildlife.
Didn't they randomly mention, like, animals? They're like, we're going to get all of those men and women and their animals.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, okay, fine. And they raid this place, and everyone runs away. The person who welcomes them at the beginning gets murdered by the police.
Oh yeah, because doesn't she help them get away? Because she's like, get into the car, and I thought she was getting in too, and she's like, no, I have to open the door.
Like, get in my truck, I'll just die, I guess.
Yeah, and it was a sweet moment in terms of like, well, I mean, I care about these main characters. I don't know who you are, lady, but thanks.
Yeah, I care so much about you two. I've known for like 5 minutes. I didn't understand why she did that, what her motive was.
Por siempre.
And then when she gets murdered, I was like, well, I didn't have enough time spent with that character to really feel anything. All right, I guess that character's just dead now, and we're on. But what I was gonna say is the point they were going for, we could just talk about racism again, but instead, let's just show white and black animals with skunks and zebras.
Oh, cause what they're skunks and zebras specifically, the black and white. I see what you're doing there.
I was like, I hope that's what they were doing for, but I also hope that's not what they were doing, because like it would make sense to me as to why they were there, but it's still not a good enough reason for them to be there. Look, so I was like, all right, whatever.
Look, during this moment, I was properly distracted by the Latin flavor of the fucking hook, the epic fucking hook that was happening. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was here for that shit. And then that one lyric was says, is it real or is it fiction? Only thing I was missing was somebody to want me like I was a pink starburst. And I just had the moment of like, oh, that analogy just got me to understand like the depth of your yearning more immediately and viscerally than any metaphor I think I've heard this whole year. And I mean, it's only January, but still. Rest of the year has a high bar to me.
Was that in Forever?
Yeah.
I just hate that, it's like a mixed bag, because there's also lines like, I thought I was allergic to love, like my heart had the flu.
Oh.
But your sin was my medicine. No more saying achoo.
Yeah.
Fucking stop. I've got no time for that.
When I heard that, I was like, oh, that needed a second draft.
And you got lines like that Starburst song. I was like, okay, that's a fine save. I like that. I almost have an inverse than I did with Straight Outta Oz, because Forever, Forbidden, Painting in the Rain, Heaven, they all have really strong ratings for me. Considerably higher than most of the rest of the album.
So you liked it when he got a little bit more serious. When he got down to the fucking point.
Not in the fucking movie, I didn't. But the songs themselves, I thought, were of a better quality. I mean, the ending is what it is. I think it's silly to do that. Typically, we wouldn't kill people for this, but, they execute them anyway? And it's like, alright.
Because he needs to be a martyr. Because didn't you get it all along? 11 years, 33. He's like Jesus.
Oh my god, please don't. I didn't even... That's terrible. I didn't even really pick up on that, but holy fuck, that brings it to a whole nother level of reaching. Forbidden is the part of the album where kind of like we get picked up to where we were at the beginning, where the cops are like at the house, they pick them up. I thought Forbidden almost rivaled Play as like best vocal, like between the two of them. Such a highlight.
He's on this mid-90s inspirational Michael Jackson ballad type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Painting in the Rain, I did not like as much. Like I
thought it was all right. Yeah.
I like the painting in the rain metaphor in and of itself, but as it went on, they just kind of felt a little overwrought with the metaphors. Like, it's like painting in the rain. It's like moving in slow motion, trying to catch a speeding train. It's just a little too much. And of course, it also immediately reminded me of the Message song from his other album, the Water Guns track. It's like, all right, guys, let's hold hands and talk about serious stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, shot it with water guns. Yeah.
But Heaven did bring me back in. The scratch in his voice. Oh my god, the lyric. Dude, I straight up kind of cried. Like at one point, when like it just gets you with the emotionality. He says, I don't know if I'll see tomorrow. If I do, Lord, take my soul. And when I get in, I promise I'll send out a message from heaven. Just like that idea. Oh yeah, and the lyric before he's like, if there's a heaven, I know the angels gotta be listening. Somebody tell them that there's something we gotta be missing. And it's showing that as he's like going to the fucking gallows and just like, like, oh, this can't be how life is supposed to be. And just that idea of like, I'm such an activist. I am trying so hard to make the world a better place. Even when I fucking die, I'm gonna try to send out a message from heaven, goddammit. Like, oh, that just hit me so fucking hard.
If the movie wasn't such a fucking mess and it didn't jump around so much, that would have worked better. But I was just angry watching the end of the movie. It's like, come the fuck on. But for a template or a canvas for that song, the song needs this to happen for it to make sense, for it to be here. Right. It's like, okay, I get that, it makes sense. So it fits in that regard. And yeah, it absolutely is one of the best tracks on the album. Then it just kind of keeps going.
Oh, Boys Wear Pink,
Well, there's also Apple Pie, which is like, and oh boy, those two people who turned out to be the reason this man was just executed, they got turned away from the cookout. They got their comeuppance. Look at them.
But they'll think twice.
They shoehorned the racism angle back into the movie for them to be kicked out of the barbecue and leave. Uh-oh. I guess that's just the end now. And then Boys Wear Pink over the credits. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
it has like no connection to the movie, like hardly at all, and it kind of goes like, it goes against the actual context of the movie.
Boys should be allowed to wear pink, but in this universe
they were in the movie, Todrick. That was the whole point. So it was like, all right, whatever. At that point, I was just happy it was over, so I really wasn't paying too much attention at that point. It was just kind of a mediocre song. Overall, I got a 2.5.
Oh man, I gotta give it the 4, man. I enjoyed a lot of it. Again, like you said, there were points that, like, even with the context, still kind of felt like blemishes. It actually made me have a new appreciation for some of the songs that I did like, and some of the songs that I thought I wasn't gonna like. So it pumped it up, not all the way up to the 5, but like it was definitely like, oh, I see a little sliver of a new color. What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? I saw this man sweating up there, at the end of this thing, panting as he's giving his final pose. You know what I'm saying? With his hands out while basking in equal parts sweat and applause. I saw this man bearing his soul, and I was like, you know what? You did a good job being an art person. I think he did enough to earn a little bit of love. You know what I mean?
But that about does it for this week's episode of Going Off. Big thanks to the folks who requested the albums we reviewed about this week. And if there is an album you'd like to hear us talk about, head on over to our Ko-fi. That is ko-fi.com/goinoff. That's GOINOFF. One-time $60 pledge for an album of your choice. $70 for an album that you made yourself. A little indie thing that you'd like to hear our thoughts on. We got the links in the description of all of our other socials, all our other projects we got going on, so you never miss a beat. You know exactly what we're doing, what we're up to, what's coming next.
Yeah, I'm doing my Twitch streams. Definitely get with those. Act like you want them. No. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing 1996. I think coming soon. We're going through the Billboard years. Yeah,
Catching up.
And I just did a special stream for ODB because it was 95, and that was when the first album came out. So I was like, all right, fuck it. So yeah, follow my Twitches for other special streams I'll be doing like that. You know what I'm saying? You never know.
And until next week, for Going Off, I'm Muse.
And I'm Rapcritic, and all the happy people stop to say hello. Get out of my way, even though the temperature's low. They got me living this quiet little redneck podunk white trash. USA. Dun 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 dun.